Ron.
Yeah.
Why didn't you say it the first time I said Ron?
Because it's pronounced Aaron.
You done messed up, Ron.
Welcome back for more SPTV, where every day is a great day not to be in a cult. And boy, is today a great day not to be in a cult. Today, I am filling in for Aaron Smith-Levin. I'm Natalie Webster. My channel is Life After a Cult. You can find me here on YouTube. And I'm filling in while our friend Aaron Smith-Levin is currently in jail in Florida. Many of you know the backstory. We've done multiple videos about it. Go check it out on his channel if you do not. Today, we're talking about what is worse, jail or Scientology, specifically the Sea Organization. Now, in Scientology, the Sea Organization is the paramilitary branch of Scientology, where you sign a billion-year contract. Yes, you heard that right. Billion years. You sign a billion-year contract to work pretty much for free. I mean, okay, in all fairness, you do get about $47 a week to work 7 days a week. No vacation time. You don't go home at the end of the day and watch some movies. Nothing like that. I spoke to Aaron yesterday on the phone, and we were actually talking about this because he was telling me about jail. And we've shared how he has commented that his experience in jail right now is better than the Sea Organization. And he's not saying that to make light of the experience of being in jail. He's saying it quite literally. And I wanted to talk about that with you guys and get into why that is. And you know what? If you have some comparisons on why Scientology or the Sea Organization specifically is worse than jail, throw them up in the comments there and let me know. If you're on the replay, welcome. Jump into those comments as well. Make sure everybody hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed. So I was thinking about this. And like I said, I was talking to Aaron about it. And when he was telling me certain things about jail, I was remembering my time in the Sea Organization. I was in the Sea Organization, let's see, probably from the time I was 16 or 17, but I was amongst Sea Org members living in Sea Organization birthing, as they call it, from the time I was about 15. And these comparisons kind of blew my mind. So room checks. In jail, it sounds like they check your stuff regularly. They go through and do room checks, and they can go through and they can what do you call it? When you go through your stuff looking for things. Well, in the Sea Organization, same thing. That would happen to us. We would get room checks. We would have white glove inspections where someone would come through with a white glove in your, what's supposed to be your private room, right? Not so private. And they could come in at any time to look for contraband. Speaking of contraband, in jail, they get to watch television. There are two different television areas, and they're watching movies and different shows. In the Sea Organization, no, girl, no. There is no television. You are not allowed to have a television. I remember Sea Org members back in the day when I was there who would have televisions and then they would hide them. Didn't always work out. So in the Sea Organization of Scientology, you're not allowed to have a television, let alone sit around and actually watch it. But you can do that in jail. Another thing Aaron mentioned when I spoke to him last night was the amount of, free time, right? Because you cannot leave, but you also don't have to do anything. Whereas in the Sea Organization, for your billion years, you are working sun up, sun down. You are punished if you don't make your quotas, your production targets. You at times can be forced to stay up all night to meet production targets. In jail, you are forced to go to bed. In the Sea Organization, we call that securing. You need to I'm going to secure, which means I'm going to go to bed. I don't know why that is. I don't know if that was some military thing or what, but if somebody knows, tell me in the comments. In the Sea Org, it was always, oh, we're going to secure. In jail, you're forced to go to bed. Aaron said you can stay in your bunk, but from 11 p.m., I think it was to 8 a.m., you pretty much have to be in your bunk, which means you can sleep. You can take naps during the day in jail. You cannot do that in the Sea Organization. You are on post, you are on duty. And I thought, wow, that is a great point and such kind of a stark comparison. Let's see, roll calls. right? When they do room checks in jail, they're making sure that you're there. They're going around a couple times a day. Same thing in the Sea organization. A minimum of 3 roll calls in the morning, after lunch, after dinner, to make sure everybody is present and accounted for. In fact, in the Sea organization, that's what you would say. We would line up by divisions, and the division head would be at the front of every line and would say, whatever your division was, let's say it was Treasury, the Treasury division, right? The people who handle bills and money. And you'd say, Treasury division, present and accounted for. That means people are either present or you know where they are. Maybe they're on the job and they can't make that check-in. But you were reporting that everybody is present and accounted for. Faith, I see you there. Secure is a ship term. Okay, that makes sense then, why that was used in the Sea organization. In jail, Aaron said each inmate has a tablet that they can use to communicate through messaging, and there's no limit on that. They can also use the phone and call people and talk to them. In the Sea organization, there's no like community phone. You're not allowed to have a cell phone unless it's related to your actual job in the Sea organization. And you are sure as heck not allowed to be sitting around calling your family or other people on an organization's phone or an org phone. So again, in jail, you can speak to your family and your friends. In the Sea organization, you cannot for a billion years. Let's see, what else? We were talking about commissary and how many of you have put money on his commissary account so that he can have more food than what's provided. And apparently the food really sucks, the meals that they are served. And one thing Aaron and I both agreed on, that the food in the Sea Org was better than the food in jail. I've not been in jail, but per what Aaron is saying. So that is the only thing I think so far that I could come up with that where the Sea Org is actually better is the meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, unless you're on rice and beans because you're forced to eat rice and beans because you're being punished. In jail, you have commissary, you have access to all this other food you can get. Well, in the Sea organization, there's the canteen. Any of my former Scientology friends remember the canteen at the blue buildings? You go on in the blue buildings. Well, you've seen people on L. Ron Hubbard Way sitting outside and eating or drinking coffee. They're getting food from the canteen, which is similar to what I imagine this commissary to be like in jail. You know, you got to pay for it. But here's the thing. In the Sea Org, you can't have your friends and family call and put any money on your account there. You have to pay for it yourself. And if you have family members sending you money that's not going to Scientology, that is called an exterior influence. It's looked down upon. You could be investigated for it. If they find out, if something's going on in your area, or they just feel like investigating you and they find out that you're getting $50 a month or a week from your parents, that's a exterior influence. They believe in the Sea organization that your parents could be telling you things about Scientology or having an influence over you because of this money that they're giving you. Yet in jail, anybody can put money on that person's account and they can get food and things from the commissary. Uniforms. In jail, you have to wear jail-issued clothes. I don't know if they call them uniforms. Do they call them uniforms? Somebody tell me in the chat if they do. In the Sea organization, you have to wear a uniform. The only time you can wear your civilian clothes is if you're off the clock. Well, when are you off the clock in the Sea organization? Very few and far between. So you pretty much are wearing a uniform the majority of the time. And in jail, you are required to wear, I don't know if they call it a uniform or jail-issued clothing, but that's another way. Now, in jail, you get to socialize. Aaron was saying he has people that he eats with at the same table or bunk mates. And in the Sea organization, when you're at a meal, sure, you can socialize, but you can't speak freely. You can't talk about any doubts you're having. You can't talk about plans of leaving. You can't bad talk any of your superiors. How many of you, show of hands here, tell the truth in the chat. How many of you at times, we've all done it. You're having issues at work And so you get together with your coworkers and maybe you have a little bit of a bitch session, right? You can do that in jail. You can talk about, your case if you want to complain about this or that person. You cannot do that in the Sea Organization in Scientology. You will be written up with knowledge reports. It's called natter when you're speaking ill, especially of a superior, Scientology or the Sea Organization, and your butt will you will be investigated. You will be security checked, the whole 9 yards. So Pippi Longstocking says, Google says they're called jumpsuits or overalls. Oh, okay. Jumpsuits or overalls. Another thing that Aaron mentioned is there are less men in his area where he sleeps than in one of the rooms in the Sea Organization where you could have 15, 20 people in one tiny small room. And the bunk beds in the Sea Org can be 3 or 4 high. And in jail, Aaron said I do believe they're 2 high, 1 and 2, where the Sea Org 1, 2, 3, and at times there were even 4. I only saw that a few times, and that was really ridiculous. I don't think that's safe at all. Even the 3 is questionable. So basically, in jail, there's more space, there's more room for you to live than in the Sea Organization when you're sharing a room with so many other people. Bathroom situation, same thing. In jail, it's communal showers and bathroom. It's the same thing in the Sea Organization. Unless you happen to live in a room that has its own bathroom, which if you're a couple and you're a couple in a higher up organization, you might get a room like that. I thought that was interesting and wow, there's actually more room in jail than in the Sea Organization in their berthing. That kind of blew my mind there. Let's see. We talked about how in the Sea Org you cannot, secure or go to bed until you get your production done. And sometimes you got to stay up all night. And in jail, you're actually forced to go to bed. If somebody hits you in jail, they get in trouble. They get in trouble. If somebody hits you in jail, they get in trouble. In the Sea Organization, we need not look further than the leader of Scientology, David Miscavige, where it has been reported numerous times in numerous books by numerous former members that work directly with David Miscavige that he physically beat his staff. He never got in trouble. There's been other instances of violence being used against members of the Sea Organization by other members. They don't get in trouble. The person often on the end of that, beating or whatever it is the one getting in trouble. Because the person who might be causing you physical harm or threatening you, in my experience in the Sea Org, it was more emotionally abusive. I never got hit or anything like that. I didn't. That wasn't my experience, but was the experience of many others. They don't get in trouble. That one blew my mind when he said that. He's like, yeah, here, if people get they're getting out of hand or they're being too loud or aggressive or they're threatening someone or actually commit some type of violence, they get in trouble. Not in the Sea Organization. Look at what happened with Danny Masterson and what he did to those women and that he's now serving a prison term for. The women themselves were declared suppressive people by Scientology for reporting the SA, for reporting the crime. Meanwhile, Danny Masterson is still a member of Scientology in good standing. So think about that. It's absolutely, it blows my mind to think about this contrast. And it really speaks to how bad conditions are in the Sea Organization itself. And this is on a good day, you guys. In the Sea Organization, when I'm thinking about just the everyday, that's how this is. This isn't necessarily just if you're in trouble or you're on the rehabilitation project force. And we're talking about Aaron's experience at the jail he is at right now. Not to say all jails are like that, but I'm sure there's still a level of comparison you could do between that and the Sea Organization. When it comes to freedoms, when it comes to certain rights, we were outright told we didn't have any rights. We had to follow the rules of the Sea Organization, the dictates of L. Ron Hubbard. There was no recourse for that. And in jail, there is. It blows my mind. I can't wait to get to some of these starred comments, which I think I'm about ready to do here. Let's take a look at some starred comments here. See what y'all are saying. Sardusu comment, the rehabilitation project force is way worse than jail. I would agree with that. And anyone who's here who's experienced the rehabilitation project force can absolutely attest to that. The living conditions, the treatment, the lack of sleep, food, all of that. It is a crime. Dave Owen, Scientology done messed up with Aaron. I agree. Lisa Kelson, hate Aaron being in jail, but love seeing Natalie's beautiful face. Oh, Lisa, I appreciate that. And I love seeing all of you. This is helping me get going again. And once I finish, like fully finish moving and am done with my other house, I feel like I'm going to have a little bit more bandwidth to start doing some of my own videos as well. Once Aaron's out of jail. Until then, I will be on his channel helping out along with a bunch of other people. Karen, thank you so much for the super sticker. Appreciate that. Kate Ashley, hi Natalie. Question, why did Aaron not get bail or bonded out? Well, he was already out on bail from the, oh my God, my menopause brain fog is kicking in and I've lost the word. You all know, the cornstarch, the cornstarch incident, right? He got out of jail he was out on bail. And then when he went outside of the Office of Special Affairs office, the Scientology Information Center, there was an altercation with another Sea Org member who shoved a door on Aaron's foot and hurt him. And then Scientology tried to twist that into saying that Aaron assaulted the Sea Org member. And that's what got his bail revoked and he's back in jail. There's an earlier video, Kate, too, that we did about it. You can check it out. Kathy O'Toole running the David Miscavige video that's 2 hours without sound at my register to give Aaron watch time. Love that. Thank you so much, Kathy. Jojo Point 2, is Aaron recruiting new protesters from the clink? I hope so. He said he pretty much talks to the people, in his vicinity and not a lot beyond that. But I know that him being in jail and this injustice that's happened, the abuse that Scientology does using the legal system to try to stop people from exposing Scientology and speaking their truth. I mean, is Scientology being Scientology? Let's see, Old Frizz, do you know if Aaron has access to a gym? He didn't mention if there was a gym, but he mentioned there was you could go outside, you could shoot basketballs. So I don't know if there is an actual former gym. That's a great question. I'll have to ask him that. Linda Scott, I can't wait for the stories when Aaron gets out. I agree. I don't know if there's a limit on his calls, but this recording came on and he said they were going to cut him off and he had to go. But yeah, I cannot wait to hear more about his experience as well. Paula Ray, wow, I never thought that jail would be better than anything. This is a real eye-opener for sure. Yes. And I wanted to share this because it's when Aaron says jail is better than the Sea Org, it's not making less or light of the experience of being in jail, which is a horrific one to begin with. But it really is showing the contrast in how much worse being in the Sea Organization under lock and key by Scientology actually is. And Aaron mentioned another person that he knows who was actually in prison, who was a former Sea Org member and then got out of prison and said being in the Sea Org was worse than being in prison. And as strange as that is to hear, it's incredibly disturbing. It absolutely is. Constance June, Aaron said before he liked the Sea Org food. Yeah, he did. And the Sea Org food I worked in the dining room in the galley and served that food. And at least when I was there, the food was decent. It wasn't nothing like, oh my God, it was so amazing. It was such a culinary experience. I wouldn't say that, but the food was decent. At the time, I also didn't have a very sophisticated palate, so who knows? You're talking to someone too who, I I will curate and decorate my apartment and have it all cute, but then I will stand at that island and just like literally eating a rotisserie chicken right off the bone. Old Frizz, he'll lose weight every week, weight every cloud. I think definitely he actually said he was losing weight because the food, he doesn't have his commissary till tomorrow. So he's been there since what, Thursday, Friday, Thursday, and hasn't had access to commissary food. And he said it's like, it's not a lot of calories to begin with. He definitely thinks he's losing weight. David Miscavige, thank you so much for that super sticker. Hashtag free AA Ron. Christy Lynn Wilson, can you really talk during a meal in the CR when you have 15 minutes? Oh, in the Sea Org? Yeah, exactly. No, there's not a lot of time to talk, but you're also very limited in what you can talk about because of the snitch culture. In the Sea Organization, there is no snitches get stitches. No, snitches get rewarded. In the Sea Organization, you're told, actually in Scientology, it is a policy in Scientology by L. Ron Hubbard that if you do not report, if you do not rat, narc on another Scientologist and write them up to Scientology when they violate the rules of L. Ron Hubbard, that you can be found guilty of the same crime. So you better snitch, you better narc. That's how it is in Scientology. Meanwhile, in jail, they got, snitches get stitches kind of a thing. Jojo point two. So in reality, the Sea Org is good training for jail. Oh, the irony. Exactly. That's why I thought it's really important to have this conversation, because there's truth in that. And it is ironic. It is that to have spent so many years in an organization where you feel trapped, you are trapped, you're being so controlled, and then you go to jail and jail's actually better than that. That says a lot about the experience in Scientology and specifically the Sea Organization. Nancy Jane, thanks to all the women stepping up to keep Aaron's channel going. Oh, appreciate that. And there's actually quite a few of our male helpers as well, including a few who are going to come on as guests in the next couple of days and who are helping behind the scenes and doing quite a bit. It's a whole bunch of people. And I know I personally appreciate the help of every single person who's helping out. David Miscavige, another super sticker. I am a violent little gnome. I hate to laugh about that. It's true. It's funny because the name. Morgan, I know the model of prison he is in, and you get a basketball court and a TV room for just music videos or sports, and then the main room where, yes, there was a universal machine and exercise bikes for real. Wow. Not in the Sea Organization. Old Frizz, wonder if they serve spam in jail. I doubt it. Be nice if they did, but I doubt it. I am born and raised in Hawaii. For those that don't know, I love spam. Girl, I buy my spam at Costco still, and I am one person living alone. I had spam for breakfast this morning. Itchy Thetans, yo, being in jail sucks, I've heard. So the fact that their Sea Org is worse, being in jail sucks. So that fact that their Sea Org is worse, says a lot. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the thing. It says a lot. It really makes a point. And he's not saying that to make less of the experience of being in jail. But in contrast to being in the Sea Organization, his experience is that it's actually easier. And I think that says everything about Scientology. Scientology's Sea Organization is supposed to be the top, right? The cream of the cream, the top of the cream, whatever the cream analogy is, that it's just lost on me. And look how they're treated. These are the most dedicated Scientologists who are giving up their lives, giving up having families. In the Sea Organization, you're not allowed to have children. They're giving up all of that, their freedom, because they believe, because of Scientology propaganda, that they are saving the planet, that they are making the world a better place through Scientology. That's why they do it. And yet this is how they're treated. This is how they're not taken care of. And that's something that I think it took some time when I was decompressing after leaving the Sea organization and Scientology, because I left the Sea Org and remained a Scientologist. I had 3 generations of my family, 4 if you count my grandpa dad. I had a lot to lose leaving Scientology. Generations of my family. And fortunately, I worked for 2 years under the radar, as we call it, where you are just going along, pretending like you're still, everything's fine, so that I could get as many family members out as I could. That you even have to do that. I know people still in Scientology in good standing who are only there because they don't want to lose contact with their family members. That's what keeps people there in large part. Paula Ray, it takes a village. You guys are Aaron's village. I agree. We all are. All of you are. Cancer Survivor says, Aaron needs to sue everyone for a life-changing amount of money when all is said and done. That would be interesting. I don't quite know, what the laws are around that or how that happens, but that would absolutely be interesting. Definitely to call some things out and hopefully call for correction. Scientology shouldn't be allowed to have this much influence in these ways. Itchy Thaton, thanks for taking one for the team by going to jail so we get Natalie and Marilyn back in the game. I know it took Aaron to go into jail to get me out of my radical sabbatical from YouTube, but I'm happy to be here and I'm really happy to see all of you again as well. Northern Girl, Aaron means a lot to so many people. That alone says everything it needs to say about his character. I would agree. Perfectly imperfect, as they say, right? We're not perfect. None of us are. We all make mistakes. We do stupid things. That's life. We learn. And I think if we can learn not just from our own mistakes, but the mistakes of others and help each other. At the end of the day, I think we could all do with a little less judgment about it and maybe help somebody when they're struggling. Or if they're not doing something correctly, maybe help to educate or provide information, but not judge or be mean and all the other host of things that you can do when somebody is struggling or they're in a tough situation. And I'm not just talking about Aaron in this situation. I mean, in general, when I was in Scientology, there was so much judgment. Judgment was a huge part of it. And I came to learn, especially after leaving Scientology, that kind of was very heavy in Scientology, but it existed so much outside of that. That was a cult mentality. At least I identified it for me as a cult mentality. It's part of the cult mentality of my cult self that I wanted to shed and get rid of. And that's letting go of judgment or having to judge other people. I can't control the people. People are going to do what they're going to do. I can only focus on myself and what I'm doing and not let how somebody else behaves change how I choose to show up. That is such a lesson that I learned actually in large part in therapy after leaving Scientology. And I guess that's just what I'm saying. It's a beautiful thing to see people show up for somebody like you all are doing here for Aaron and like Aaron has done for many people as well. And when it comes to Scientology and whether it's protesting Scientology or exposing Scientology here on the internet, there's so many different ways to do that. And I can speak for myself and say I have such appreciation for anyone who does that, because when I wanted to leave Scientology and was leaving, it was the stories of other people who left, who came forward that actually helped me realize that, okay, what I'm seeing is true, because Scientology will gaslight you into next Tuesday when it comes to them trying to convince you that what you're seeing is not real. They are masters at it. That causes a lot of psychological damage to a person, especially in a lifetime or if you grew up like that. And I know many of you were never in Scientology, all in on ending this cult. You had this experience too, and you weren't even in Scientology. Maybe it was a different cult. Maybe it was a controlling family. Maybe it was abusive family, partner, whatever that is. But there was a time when you were struggling and people judged you for it instead of maybe giving you a hand. At a minimum, just keep your mouth shut, kind of a thing. And what I'm seeing here today is so many people stepping up and wanting to help. And that's something that I find that inspiring. It's something that since I've been on YouTube, I've been very inspired by so many of you showing up to be there, to hold space. I appreciate that. And we want this to be a space of healing, of education, of fun. And I think that, we've come a long way for many of us who've left Scientology. Frankly, I find the whole thing fascinating, even though I am one of those people. When I hear people's stories or learn about what their lives are like since they've left and what they've gone through, it just blows my mind. Dave's Deep Dive, Spam Moosey B for the win. Heck yes. Samantha Clark. I've rewatched Natalie's first video with Aaron. It's a 4-hour video. So if anyone else is trying to help with watch hours, or if you haven't seen it, it's a must watch and so informative. Oh, I really appreciate that, Samantha. Thank you. Maybe one of the mods could throw a link up to it in the chat before we head out. I don't know how you'd find it. I'm still, I was on YouTube for like 14 months and I still am like, where's that button? So I don't know how you find it. Search it up, maybe. Reprise 53. If you take the judgment and the lying out of Scientology, what's left? That is such an excellent point. And for me, letting go of judgment or the need to judge. I mean, don't get me wrong. I will judge Scientology all day long because it is a cult, right? There are policies and procedures in Scientology that are actually harmful and cause damage to people. So yes, you got to wonder what would be left after that. Itchy Thetans, I still don't get how he caught the second charge when he was the one who was assaulted. Well, I mean, that's kind of the $1 million question in a way. And my understanding is based on the video that was shown to the judge from Scientology, from the C organization member. I don't know whose camera it came from. Gave the appearance that somehow, there was more responsibility on Aaron's side. That's the thing. I think that we keep asking ourselves over and over and over again, how does this keep happening? And it's not even limited to Scientology. You look at other movements and causes where people have stood up to oppressors and were villainized for it. And that's what we're seeing here. That's what we see over and over and over again. Scientology has tried to do this with so many people who left Scientology. Look what they're doing to Brooks Gibbs and the Save the Garden group. We're going to talk more about that. I'm going to do a reaction video to some Save the Garden videos, and then chat more with Brooks Gibbs about that. That's just mind-blowing to me. Mind-blowing what they're doing. It's one thing when they do it to former Scientologists. But to do that to people who are just in the community, trying to make the community a better place, is mind-blowing. Anna from Canada, Scientology didn't expect all the never ends that have your back strong. 100%. And I say this, and I will say it again. Community is one of the biggest things that scares Scientology. When you support people, whether they're former Scientologists or not, but who share this desire to expose and stop a human trafficking cult like Scientology. It's wild. It is absolutely wild. And rather than address why they're seen, considered, and known as a human trafficking, family destroying cult, rather than doing that, Scientology puts its efforts and its money into trying to stop people who are critical of Scientology, former members and otherwise. And they will continue to do that because they have to do what L. Ron Hubbard said. And that is what L. Ron Hubbard said to do. All right, let's see here. I'm going to grab this question here. Dave's Deep Dive. Nat, do you know how things will go moving forward since Aaron's fun run powder bail was revoked and he had to go to jail, but he doesn't have to stay in jail till that case is put before? There's a second part. We'll look for that. I really can't say. I don't know. I mean, the expectation is that he will be out of jail on Friday. But, you never know in these situations. I've seen crazier things happen. That's what we're all hoping will happen. But we'll see. We'll find out on Friday. I think it's going to be a big day. Dominica, OMG, I'm so late. Hi, all. Natalie, you're made out of gold. I appreciate that. Amber, good to see you. I literally was just thinking about this. I care about everyone. I hope everyone is doing well and being safe out there. I literally give everyone the peace symbol whenever I see somebody. Exactly. There's so much in the world out there where, you know, things can kind of be bad enough. Do we really have to add to that? And that's one of the reasons I try, even if it's just like giving somebody a warmer or friendly greeting, especially if they look like they've been having a bad day. I love winning people over like that or trying to help bring them out of, out of that. And I think as fellow humans, that the minimum we can do is not harm at all or try not to hurt another person, whether it's with words or actions. But if we can actually, again, help, educate instead of judging somebody. I'll have to do a whole nother video about that in Scientology. It was such a huge part of it that I try so hard, and I am not perfect at it, to not do that because it was so much a part of my identity in Scientology, in that cult. It is. You got to be really judgy. And it's part of it. The way that in Scientology, they'd speak about other groups. No one's doing anything. They're the only ones who can do it right. And then they speak to their own members that way as well. Oh, thank you, George. I see that link in there you did. That's fabulous. Thank you so much. And Easy B Angel, thank you for the reminder for people to hit that link. I appreciate that. All right, that is what I got for you right now today. Stay tuned. You never know who's going to pop on growing up in Scientology. So we will see you later. Thank you, everybody who stays to the very end. And get out there and have an amazing cult-free day.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.